Hello and welcome. So this is the Bauhaus RC LCG battery tray. It's pretty nice. Batteries fit a little lower, somewhat at an angle, so they just kind of go down toward into the transmission. This is what the original looks like. So as you can see, it's longer. It has 2 screws there, 2 screws there. It's just 4 screws, and then 1 on each side. So you would just kind of lift, remove those. So you lift and then twist, and then it just pulls out. So the installation process is very simple. Now, if you look at this tray, you can fit some shorty packs in here, which is really good, so you can get more milliamp hours. This tray here, you can fit the short batteries, similar to the Traxxas batteries. They kind of fit, so that'll lower your center of gravity if you put the smaller packs that fit in there. But the Bauhaus kit will allow you to fit a larger pack, and you will get more milliamp hour batteries in there versus this tray. So they go down to about that same area there versus this one, but it goes at an angle. This one kind of stops here, but the Bauhaus continues from there onto the other side versus this one just kind of stops here. So you have that small little battery, which is narrow. Bauhaus, you actually get the full width. So that's one of the reasons why you want to consider the Bauhaus LCG instead. So let me just put them side by side so I can show you the side of the truck. So if I compress the suspension, see how those links there touch, or they get really close to touching that battery tray? All right, right in there, but you still have that space, that extra space between the chassis and the link. So that's something to consider. So that's pretty much the width of those 2 links, but you have some space in between the links and the chassis that isn't being used. Now over here, if I stick my finger, there's quite a lot of space right in there between the drive line and the actual tray. Now this is with the stock battery tray. So if you look in there, there's gaps. There's a lot of space. If I use tape, no, I'm not going to measure. There's just a lot of space. You have at least 2 centimeters probably. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe it's 1.5 centimeters. But if you look at this one, if I compress the suspension, see it's touching the tray, but it's touching the tray the entire length. And look at the width. It goes all the way up to the chassis. And then it's touching right there, the links. So it really is dropping, and there isn't much of a gap now between the drive line and the battery tray. So that battery tray is really sunk as much as possible. Now if we go back to the Bronco here, see there's a big gap between the battery tray and that link here on the front part, and the drive line as well. So if we look at this again, let's turn around. All right, there we go. No, it's the other way. But we'll hold it this way. So that little piece there, all right, that's as low as it goes. And there's still a gap between that piece and the driveline. Now if we look at this one over here, all right, let's set it at an angle. I should be able to see there. All right, so if we compare it, here, one moment, no, there. See, it goes right up to the transmission right in here, right up there. So it's about half servo. So we're going to use the servos sort of as a guide to show you. And right here we have to find the servos. Let's see, can I use that hole as a reference? Yeah, I can use that hole right there from the servo. So if I go over here, oh, there's actually some marks there. So you can see the marks from where the servo would sit. So that's about half. So that's where the transmission is. So it goes right up to the transmission. The battery tray does. So it's as low as possible. So if you slide in right up to the transmission, that's the lowest point. So your battery sits pretty low in here. You can fit a low profile shorty pack right in here, and it'll sit pretty low and take up this space, which is really good, maybe about there. Anyway, shorty packs are the way to go. But let me show you how to install it now. So here we go, installation. The installation is pretty straightforward. You have these screws that are in here in the battery tray. So it's a total of 4 screws. These are 2 of them right here in this back end. So I'm just going to remove those and I think I just said the back end, but that's actually the front end of the vehicle. But anyway, you remove the screws, set the screws aside. You will need them. Don't put them on the tray because you're going to be lifting the tray in a bit. Now, it's really just these on the side screws, but I'm going to go ahead and remove the clip from the battery tray. So I'm going to flip this and I'm going to remove those 2 screws. Those just hold the clip. In order to remove the entire battery tray, you do not need to remove these screws. I'm just doing it because I have to take it apart. So that's why I'm taking those 2 screws out. But after I do that, then I'll just remove the side screws, which are the ones that you actually need. But let's see. So once you're finished, set these aside. You're not going to confuse these screws with the other screws because these are not countersunk. The other ones are. A quick little note on the Defender, this plastic is gray. On the Bronco, it's actually chrome, or at least on the 80s Bronco. I'm not sure about the newer Bronco. I didn't really check. But here we go. All right, so now we get to remove the last 2 screws. So again, it's only 4 screws, the top 2 toward the front, and the side screws, these 2 right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove these. So these are the rear 2 screws, and then once I remove this, I'm just gonna lift and twist, and I'll show you. The battery tray is a lot easier than it seems. You may want to remove that clip as I did. I'm just used to removing it. It's a force of habit, but I don't think it gets in the way when you flip it. But again, it's just the 4 screws, so you have these 2 right here and then these 2 over here, and then that's it. Those are the only screws that you need to truly remove to get rid of the tray or replace the tray. You're not getting rid of it. Here it is, the last one. So at this point, now you just need to lift. So you lift like this and then you just twist and it comes out. And that's all you do. The new battery tray just goes in here. Now we're going to be installing our Bauhaus battery tray, which is our LCG tray, which is this one right here. And you're going to install it similar to the way we removed it. So if you look at this, this is much lower. So we're just going to put it kind of at an angle and then twist. So what you're doing is those 2 little knobs are fitting in the channel of the chassis. And then once you twist, you can just bring it down and then just line up the holes, those top 2 holes. And then after that, just grab the countersunk screws that you removed and you just place them there. Now be careful with the wires. Make sure that the wires are running away from those mounting positions. You don't want to crush your wires, damage your wires. They're for your ESC. So make sure they're snug, and if you look at these little gaps here, these little holes, that's for you to run Velcro. That's how you hold the battery on. So you will need Velcro. I did not see Velcro included with the kit, but it's not that expensive. You can always buy a Techno strap, for example, battery strap, or some other brands out there. You can just buy the Velcro or something similar to Velcro made by maybe Scotch or some other brand and use it there. For example, the Velcro for cords, you can just use one of those and then just strap it. So there's a variety of options. But that's it. We have these 2 screws, so now we need to move it so we can install the side screws. And the side screws are pretty straightforward. Now this plastic is not threaded yet, so that's something you have to keep in mind. So just kind of hold it, and you will need to apply pressure. So hold it there, apply pressure, and that's going to start threading the plastic. Now you could pre-thread it. That works as well before installing it. But it's up to you. You can either suffer like I'm suffering, or you can pre-thread, which pre-threading, you're just going to suffer off of the vehicle, and then it'll make it easier to install in the vehicle. Depends on what you're installing. But other than that, the installation is pretty straightforward. This is a very clean product. It fits on here flawlessly. There's nothing that I had to trim, but that is a good thing. Now, if you look at the line, this is where the large battery would sit. A large battery would sit up here, right on this line, and then a short battery right here, so like a Traxxas battery. But that's kind of narrow, so you're limited to the batteries that you can use. That's something to consider. Small little battery. If you want more runtime, that may be a problem. So if you want something with more milliamp hour batteries, say you have a shorty pack, this is the way to go. Because a shorty pack will actually fit in here nicely. And you can get a low profile shorty as well, maybe 4,000 milliamp hour batteries. There's a few 36, 3800, 4000, 4200 milliamp hour batteries. This is just a better option. So at this point, I've already installed 3 of the screws. This is the last one, and that is it. Just keep in mind that you're going to need something to hold the battery, so you will need a strap. I guess you could use a tie strap. I'm not sure why you would, but Velcro strap is the way to go, really. But here it is. So that's the last screw. And again, the installation is pretty clean. So if you've used these before, please comment below. How do you like them? If you have any questions, please comment below. We'll catch you in the next one. Thank you so much.
What? Oh, my hair! My tongue! My rod!